Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. My name is Subramaniam Maslamani. I am a Tamil. Today my topic is Sri Lanka. Who are the real terrorists? The difference between Mexico and Sri Lanka are that in Mexico, the government is fighting to eradicate powerful drug cartel. But in Sri Lanka, the drug cartel and criminals are the government. That is the difference. A man is in his own home, an armed intruder enters. The man tries to defend. The intruder shoots him, rapes females, walk away with his property, and set his home on fire. This happened really. Now, who is the freedom fighter and who is the terrorist? The freedom fighter is the man who owns the home, protect the female and property, and fend off the intruder. Common sense. The terrorist is the man who enters the home, kills the man, rape the females, and walk away with the property. So then in Sri Lanka, the Tamils are the freedom fighters and Sinhalese are the terrorists. Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Mr. Barack Obama, Mr. Cameron, Mr. Putin, Mr. Ho Jintao, Mr. Manmohan Singh, and the big leaders of big countries didn't know the definition and difference between terrorism and freedom. That is why they call Tamils terrorists. And let me ask you, Sri Lankans, Sinhalese, the government of Sri Lanka, and the Rajapaksas, gentlemen, touch your hearts, search your conscience, and tell me, did you or did you not kill any Tamil? If the answer is no and negative, you tell me, and I will go before the Tamil people and the world and fight for your exoneration. 40,000 people are dead and 150,000 people are missing. It is the responsibility of the resident government to answer as to what happened to these people. It is unimaginable and inconceivable how humans so wise can revert to their animalistic nature. And it is still worse that they can choose a wise and wicked leader who can promote hatred and violence. Are humans motivated by fear and revenge? Enough of sick people, sickening people, talking sickening things that have no sense of sensitivity but seemingly have nothing sensible to say, which makes the world sick and the stomach turning. It is sick to listen to the great liar Pires talking like a man who has no known pedigree of father and mother, and a child that was conceived in the back alleys of bars and brothels. I hope he has some respect for his alma mater and the education he received. I read and hear how Sri Lanka blames what USA did in Iraq and Afghanistan, what Russia did in Chechnya, what China did in northwestern Xinjiang province, what NATO did in Libya and Afghanistan. So then, what happened in Sri Lanka is no different. That's what you are trying to say, isn't it? Or is it that you want to justify your actions because others did the same too? The question is, you got your own religion and own Lord Buddha, who said harming lives is wrong, killing lives is wrong, and stealing is wrong. And then ask yourself this question: did we commit any of these crimes? Yes or a no? In the first place, if we did not do any wrong, why do you try to defend it? And in second place, why are you pointing fingers at others to justify what you did? Are you looking for consensus? Not what and who is right and wrong? Your LLRC commission is not necessary. United Nations Secretary General is not necessary. For me and billions of others, you know why? We know what is right and wrong. Only animals, some of them, sometimes do not know what is right and wrong. The circumstantial evidences are so much and overwhelming that you are guilty. It's better to accept responsibility and move on. Mahinda Rajapaksa is a lawyer. I can excuse Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He missed the formal education, so he may be excused. Great Lion Pires is a professor. Dr. Dayan Dayatilaka is a doctorate. So is Rajiva Vijayasinghe and Palita Kohana. Right? All of you are educated people. The first thing that I remember at school was good behavior. That means be good to people. You gentlemen studied it too. Let me ask you, touch your heart, search your conscience, and tell the world, did you or did you not kill any Tamils? If the answer is no and negative, you tell us. We will go before the Tamil people and the world and fight for your exoneration. Tamils are great people. Why are you wasting your God-given time and life on beating around the bush? Do not give examples. Do not say Tamils are terrorists. And do not send powerful teams to justify. You ask the questions. Are we innocent or not? That's all matters. At the end of the day, I had to sleep with my own conscience. Let me give my side of the propaganda. Because when you are treating the world as a courtroom and talk without interruptions and cross-examination, I had to do my part to keep the world informed too. I'm not going to make the mistake LTT made. They did not have a proper media organization. And whoever they had were not presentable in the World Forum. Education without character, a tradition, a legacy, a custom, culture, heritage is no guarantee of stewardship, statesmanship, and sensible behavior. We can see it in the Rajapaksas, G.L. Pires, Kelia Ramkwela, Rajiva Vijayasinghe, etc. Mere education is not sufficient. The moral values, the moral foundations, the moral compass, and moral direction are still more important than education. Criminals are made when mere education is dispensed without moral direction. Science without religion and life without God are mere existence, not life. Life is a serene state of hope, faith, love, honesty, trust, sincerity, compassion, understanding, responsibility, etc. There is no thought of harm anywhere. But when you kill 40,000 innocent lives, where do you fit in the moral scale of evolution and in the scheme of existence? Man who does not either believe in God or in moral laws is either a criminal or a low life. You choose the one. 60 years of state-sponsored terrorism. For 60 years, Tamils in Sri Lanka was subjected to various forms of sufferings. Racism, fanaticism, narcissism, state terrorism, intimidation, ridicule, name-calling, outcastism, discrimination, sexual abuse, bastardization, gang rapes, torture, misappropriation, plundering, etc. The list is endless. It amounts to a pogrom and Holocaust. Sometimes I wonder if Sinhalese are really humans. They look like humans and bring their palms together and say, Ayubovan, and pray to God, and then they pick up the knife or a gun and kill their brothers and sisters. How and why? I can understand emotional reactions, but how can humans plan for years and years without any moral input or a moral dimension, conduct a pogrom, Holocaust and genocide? How can you kill innocent children and elderly people? It is inconceivable that we have two-legged devils on earth. There's no living parallel or example even among the worst of animals. How can a state be converted into a narcissistic killing machine? Someone said it was rape, kill, plunder, scourge, then advance, again, rape, kill, plunder, scourge, and so on. How can humans do that to fellow humans who have not done any harm to anyone? How can human being can plan such a huge genocide? If you, that is Rajapaksa and his gang, think what happened in May 2009, genocide was a humanitarian operation, why did you appoint a Reconciliation and Justification Commission? As I always said, subconscious mind speaks so loud, one cannot hear the conscious mind mumbling. You say no one was killed. Fine. Then why do you go about saying it? You know why? Because you have at least that part of your faculty functioning to tell you that the truth will always rise to the top, but slowly. Justice is a careful moderator. He will deliberate slowly, but surely. Mr. Rajapaksa, no honest man was ever found guilty, and no criminal ever escaped justice, man-made or otherwise. Rest assured, it was a war between right and wrong, a war between justice and injustice, and a war between good people and bad people. What we are telling you is, come to a tribunal, international, where you will have a chance to cross-examine us, and we will have a chance to cross-examine you, and the real truth will come out. If you are so sure about your humanitarian operation, why not you come and justify your stance? Are you worried there may be miscarriage of justice? It's only a truth-finding mission, not fault-finding mission. But I will tell you something. If you don't do it now, and the truth is found out later, truth is found out, and apologies requested and forgiveness given, your future generations will pay for it dearly. Rest assured. We are not going to let you get away with this. Which is better? It will happen. It's not my decree. It's the law of the universe that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. When you go out and say USA, UK, NATO did exactly what you did, you are basically saying that they are wrong and why they are not being investigated. When you say that, you imply that you did exactly what they did, and hence if they are guilty, you are guilty too. An honest man needs no defense and deliberations. The judge knows who the culprit is, but it's the duty of the plaintiff to prove that the defendant did it. Ask yourself the acid question. What we did in Vanni, was it right? And if it was a humanitarian operation, you do not have to justify to anyone. Your conscience is your own judge. Let's go back to 1990. About 20 years ago, your President Rajapaksa was arrested for alleged involvement in 2 murders. It is Ranil Wickremesinghe, then Prime Minister or President, who stopped him being arrested. It was a political move that backfired on Ranil Wickremesinghe and Prabhakaran too. Remember that. Why don't we open up that investigation to see if he is a man of humanness and conscience, or if he is fit to be a leader of a nation? Murderers can't be leaders. So he has to clear that first. Politics is a dangerous game. If you want to play to the max without any conscience, consideration or compassion, or stay out of it. If you do not have the absolute power over others, do not venture into it. What you must realize is that in 60 years, you made a mockery of a nation that was in good shape. Why do you want to continue the same policy internationally? Whatever damage you have done internally, now you are doing it internationally. And the Tamils are surging beyond belief internationally. And what you are going to do about it? Nothing. In 60 years, your free education, all it produced was criminals, liars and drug dealers. Look at Mahinda Rajapaksa. Look at the great liar Piris. And look at Mervyn Silva. So you get your acts together, accept responsibility and mind your self-respect. And don't be ridiculous and be ridiculed. It is too obvious that you have done something wrong. It is not good for you, not good for your neighbors. So then, education is no guarantee, no sure guarantee of good behavior, but a good birth and good upbringing combined with good education is must for a great citizen. Hitler, Stalin, Mao Zedong and Mussolini were tyrants, not leaders. When did I finally come to believe that a genocide happened in May 2009? It was 2.5 years later. Just a couple of days ago, on October 8, 2011, that was 2.5 years later, high-level politicians were involved in a shootout in Sri Lanka. Then I knew these guys are capable and must have carried a planned genocide. When supposed to be the law-abiding, lawmakers are involved in gun battle with high-powered military-grade rifles, any crime is possible in Sri Lanka. The president was involved in it. The defense secretary was involved in it. The wife of the president was involved in it. It means the government is run by a mafia and drug cartel. It's a law of the jungle, and the might is right, and the issues are settled summarily. The dilemma is who is going to do the job of chasing the criminals and who is going to catch the criminals. There's a little story about 4 people named, listen carefully, there's a little story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody and nobody. There was an important job to be done and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that nobody, because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought that anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody and nobody did that nobody could have done, anybody could have done. But when someone tried to do it, everyone found fault with that someone else. In this Sri Lankan tragedy, Obama thought Cameron will do it. Cameron thought Harper will do it. Harper thought Hojinta will do it. Hojinta thought Manmohan will do it. But everybody thought Ban Ki-moon will do it. Nobody did it. But it's actually the job of the Tamils to do it. But then among Tamils there's a division. They blame each other. So when the story. You see folks, it is none of anybody's business. It's our business and our business alone. So we Tamils have to do it. And it can be done. But if only someone can unite the community first. So the important task has to wait till the urgent task of uniting of the community is done. Then who is going to do it? So goes the responsibility. There's only one way to do it. All Tamils first unite. So I set out to whatever I can. Can I do it alone? Maybe. I have done several things, so I'm going to give a good try. Am I scared to do it? Not at all. I will stay within my Charter of Rights and Freedoms and obey the Criminal Code of Canada. This is not about the Tamils issue. It's about democracy under huge threat, and someone has to put down his feet and put on his gloves and take on the Nazis. Otherwise, drug dealers and criminals will take over the world. It was Sir Winston Churchill who defeated Nazism. It was Martin Luther King who defeated racial segregation. It was Nelson Mandela who defeated apartheid. It is we Tamils who will defeat state terrorism in Sri Lanka. It's our duty. It's the duty of every Tamil. Someone has to stand up like Henry Tudor, who stood like a steel rod in a concrete block. It was Nelson who stood up to Napoleon. Someone has to stand up to this Asian tyrant and state terrorist. That's us. We will defeat state terrorism ultimately. It's a matter of time. Everyone knows everyone knows there is something wrong in Sri Lanka. That someone has to stand up and say something is wrong. Not everyone is worried about political rightness, and not everyone is, but everyone is worried about, everyone knows that something wrong happened in Sri Lanka. Someone has to stand up and say something is wrong. But everyone is worried about political rightness and politeness. Where are the advocates of right to life and human rights? Where are the rights of the ordinary person here? Revolutions happen not because there is not enough food, but when leaders do not stand up for what is right and what is good. Why was Iraq important? Because of oil and the threat to Israel. Why is Libya important? Because there is oil and Gaddafi is a physical threat. Why are Sri Lankan camels not important? Because we have no oil. We are a small minority, and beside all we have nothing to offer as bargain to others. Tamils need a new form of leadership to build that bargaining power. Never go to negotiate if you have either something to offer or something to threaten with. That is human nature, and human nature does not change easily. Tamils do not have leaders. We have infighters and born losers. These guys are ready not to negotiate, but to surrender the only thing we are left with. That's our self-esteem and our ability to think. They are more worried about going to Sri Lanka for holiday and to ensure they don't lose their tiny piece of land. A tiny piece of land over freedom. What were they thinking? What we Tamils have to do is to build up ourselves to become important political, economic and intellectual players in the world. We must develop that edge over the singers. I am yet to see our leaders coming up with a comprehensive plan and project. One must realize that without community there is no identity, there is no strength, there is no potential mass, there is no force, and there is no effectiveness, and there is no salvation. Let me read that again. One must realize that without the community there is no identity, there is no strength, there is no potential mass, There is no force, there is no effectiveness, and there is no salvation. What do the Tamil leaders do? They want to settle, but not negotiate. How can you negotiate when you have no bargaining power? So they stoop down and say, how low should I go? I can see it in our leaders. If we want our freedom for each of us and for the Tamils, we had to stand up and fight. Hoping that someone else will do it for us is not going to work. Do you think Sinhalese and their leadership is going to listen to your pleading and panhandling? No. They want you to leave Sri Lanka. If we want to stay, we must develop that invincibility. Our freedom cannot be achieved under present leadership mindset and paradigms. We need a new generation of Tamils who did not know slavery, discrimination, and segregation. The Holocaust, Exodus, and the diaspora signifies a new beginning for the Tamils, a life without second-classedness. While some people think of the end of Tamils, we are working on a new beginning based on freedom, equality, fraternity, respect, and responsibility. You may defeat people, but no one can defeat universal principles and fundamental laws. We Tamils by now should know that the Mahinda will never listen to your pleadings and panhandling. There is no plan to accept and accommodate Tamils in Sri Lanka. That is the very purpose of 60 years long struggle, and they won. We lost a small battle because of our stupidity, not because of their strength. We Tamil must not forget is that Sinhalese have determined that the nation of Sri Lanka belongs to the Sinhalese. There is no mention of any Tamils. Thank God we have the diaspora, and I hope that diaspora Tamils remain Tamil. A community, a class of people, a culture, a heritage, or a nation is not just diurnal symptom. It's an eternal system. It is forever. It's the timeless elegance forged in the furnace of nature. It has to be left alone and respected, for that is the way it was meant to be. Anyone meddle or messes around with it are bound to fail, and in the process destroy themselves. As George Santayana said, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Coming back to the subject of who are the real terrorists in Sri Lanka, they are the misguided children of dysfunctional families. When a culture lacks structure, it has nothing to hang on to in hard times. When a child lacks a mother for love and father for ministry, an insecure child is born and he grows up into Rajapaksas. He grows up into Rajapaksas. The whole nation of Sri Lanka has become dislodged from the teaching of Buddhism and Hinduism. There are no reference materials available, so people return to nature, and the strong as well as the weak are senseless. The strong kills and the weak dies. Terrorism is nothing but the breakdown of the molecular structure of the basic unit of family and society. Life has become unbearable, hence it becomes suicidal. Before it becomes suicidal, it becomes homicidal in its desperate attempt to survive. When large-scale homicide happens between two identified groups, it is called genocide. Too much for this week, folks. Until next week, as I always say, 70 million Tamils worldwide, unite, stay together, work hard, and never ever give up. The best is yet to come, and we are winning. My name is Subramaniam Maslamani, a world-class Tamil powered by convictions, commitments, and conscience.